We're gonna come over to cool Jeff over here, man. And boy, I was looking at Jeff's resume, and boy, he's got some experience here. He's got the second best hat in the house after me. Anyway, but he possesses over 25 years of camera and theater acting experience. 25 years, y'all. All right, and he trained with coaches including award-winning actor Austin Pendleton and Jessica Hetch, and casting directors Mike Lemon and Judy Bowley, CSA. About his work, I want to talk about this. Mr. Pendleton said, "You're one of those actors who can use whatever is happening to them and pour it right into the play." On camera, Jeff has appeared in indie films Without a Badge, the Smithsonian Channel docudrama Mysteries of the Double Eagle, and a number of TV commercials. Jeff has also performed in more than a dozen theater productions in Philadelphia area. He has appeared in Azuka Theater, Kodak's Society Hill Playhouse, Lafty Wake, Delaware Theater Company, Young Playwriters Festival, Center Theater, Little Shop of Horror. Jeff also understudies, which Bethel was just talking about, all right? Understudy is a good thing. Come sit down, look, learn, and you might get an upgrade, all right? At the Walnut Street Theater, it's a prestigious theater right here in Philly, and Montgomery Theater. In addition, Jess has performed as a standardized patient, portraying patients for Philadelphia area hospitals to aid in the training of med students, interns, and residents. Give it up for my man Jeff right here. Oh man, you have a very, very impressive bio. 25 years of experience, and I want to first ask you, like, what made you get into acting? Sometimes it can be a crazy, topsy-turvy industry, and sometimes people think we're crazy for being a part of it with all the rejection that we get. You know, we usually are told more no's than we are yes, despite all the auditions. What made you get into acting?
It was during my second career as doing public relations. My first career was news media.
Okay.
And then I crossed over to the dark side into PR.
Okay.
And I realized I'm going to be one being interviewed on camera, and I have no experience at all being in front of the camera. So I figured I better do something about it. So I started taking acting classes, going out on auditions. The first year was terrible. I couldn't book a student film. That's how bad
I got you, man.
it was.
Been there, done that.
But after taking some classes and getting some advice from some good casting directors like Mike Lemon, I booked my first student film.
Okay.
And I liked it so much, I just kept on doing it. And again, it helped me in my work, but because of my work, I was able to get into it.
Yeah, and I always encourage people who are just starting out, get into those Drexel, Temple, University of Penn student films because you pick up experience, right? Yeah, absolutely. Now you had a prestigious person say something I thought was honorable, okay, and that of Mr. Pendleton. He said, "You're one of those actors who can use whatever is happening to them and pour it right into the play." My favorite kind of actor. And I've kind of learned in acting that acting is not always acting, it's reacting. And you know how the counselor's slogan is, hurt people, well, our slogan is, don't get caught acting actor. So like if you're in a stage play and the person's supposed to hand you the newspaper, and then you say your line, but what happens if they drop it? You're gonna have to adjust on the fly.
Sure.
Talk to that, man. But that's an honorable statement they made about you, man.
Well, actually, it was a specific thing that happened in one of his classes, where we're doing the scene from a David Mamet play, and I was violently ill, stomach flu, but still made it through the class. But at one point, I was about to, throw up, and I popped some Pepto-Bismol during the scene, and it actually worked because my character was the teacher who was being harassed by a student. So he was anxious, he was nervous. So, doing that, popping the pills, added to my anxiety as the character.
You tied it right on it. I'm gonna say this: in Philadelphia, these students will make you pop a pill, a Pepto-Bismol. But that was just genius of you to be able to incorporate that? Because as you know, and as we all know, it has to make sense.
Yep.
And it made perfect sense. If you're in there with students that are causing you anxiety, yeah, that would make somebody pop a pill. So that's awesome. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in terms of acting being sometimes reacting? What is the thinking? What was the awareness? Or was it just simply, man, I need a pill right now, and it just blended in, you know what I mean?
Well, because of physically what was going to happen to me, I didn't want to stop the scene.
I got you.
So I had to do something.
Yeah, I got you.
So it was on Zoom, but I had to take some medicine, so I could keep going with the scene. But it worked into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would tell someone starting the business is find a way to make it fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what I learned from one casting director, because I was very nervous when I did an audition for them, and they said, you know what your problem is? You're not having any fun.
Okay.
Find a way to have fun with it, and it'll be good.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good advice.
That's one of the things I would say to someone starting out.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Definitely, you definitely want to have fun, find the fun, and you took what you call you made an actor's choice, you made an actor's risk. But one thing that you did was you stayed in character.
Right.
You stayed in character. Just talk about how important it is to stay in character until you hear that word cut.
You have to find some way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the dialogue, you can, sometimes I'll almost drop a line.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll try to remember what was that word. What's the next line? And actually using that anxiety into the scene, into my character.
Mm-hmm.
So again, using what I have, to make the role work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, that is definitely an honorable comment.
Yeah,
And,
it's very generous.
that was huge. That was very, very huge. You had over 25 years experience in front of the camera, behind the camera. We were kind of talking about this earlier. Talk about some of the differences. Because like in theater, you got a projector so they can hear you in the back. And then when you're on set, they tell you, man, what you're yelling for, kind of bring it in. So talk about some major differences between on camera, in front of the camera, and then theater.
Well, one of the things I like about theater is linear.
Okay.
It goes from one end to the other.
Okay, right.
You're not stopping and starting. You're not doing things out of order.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about theater is that the audience is part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work unless both sides do their part.
Mm-hmm.
The audience has to accept that, drop their disbelief and accept that what they're seeing on stage is really happening to real people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the obligation of the actors to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't work together, they don't hold up their ends, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I really like about theater.
Gotcha.
Being on camera is more challenging because you have to stop and start.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking things out of order.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember, what did I do before that or after that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes it the challenge.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love what you said about the theater being linear from point A straight through to point B. But with film, like you said, they film it out of order. You have to remember, even the mind frame. What was my mind frame in this scene versus this scene, and was the mind frame in this scene before or after the scene? Because it all has to have continuity, has to flow, has to make sense. And we take responsibility for our characters. And the one thing that, if the production's going to film it out of sequence, which sometimes has to happen due to availability, but
We're not available.
you know what I mean? Juggling. So, but we take responsibility for our own characters. Say, okay, not only what was I wearing, but what was my mind frame? Was I angry in this part? Was I depressed in this one? Because you got to make it all flow. So you point out some very, very excellent differences about because. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, in terms of your preparation for a theater character versus your film character, are there any And what are some differences? Like, is there different? Do you have a different approach for one versus the other, or you have what works for you?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference is the amount of dialogue
Okay.
that you have to memorize, be off book.
Mhm.
So obviously, your entire play is way longer than the part you might have in a film.
Okay.
So that's you gotta. My technique for learning lines, whether it's film or whether it's theater, is just keep reading it over and over again until it becomes rote.
Okay.
Sir Anthony Hopkins actually does that. That's his way. That's his
Absolutely.
technique of learning his lines. So once you get to the point where you don't have to think about the words, they just come to you,
Absolutely.
and then you can focus on the emotion.